Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a great day. You're taking another look here at SUI, see what's going on. Looks like it's trying to break free from its descending type of channel and essentially break out to the upside here. This is actually very, very good news here. Ideally, we close about 490 or higher to invalidate this downtrend. And again, when I say downtrend, this is like a rising wedge or even just say a bear flag type of pattern. Generally, these do break to the downside. But again, it's just a slightly larger statistical probability, right? You never trade patterns. If you've been watching my channel for any stretch of time, you'll know that patterns are like just an ancillary option to confirm the overall trend, right? Everything has to be pointing that same direction in order for that to occur. Yesterday, my SUI analysis, everything was looking fairly neutral to bullish. It was like 55% probability of further upside, but still had a lot of bearish qualities. We're going to see if those are still present. We're going to take a look at the back end data too and kind of recognize, well, what kind of liquidation are we looking at here locally? Because we know from a bigger picture, there's a ton of liquidation at 535 upwards of 570. That's that price discovery mode too, though. So we're not there yet, but I just want you to know that that exists, and it's important to recognize that too. And we'll see what's going on here. Look at this abstractly. If you could just hit the like button, comment below, maybe give me a like every time you watch the video. It really helps grow the channel. To those of you who do that all the time, super appreciate you. Thank you very much. And to those who are new to the community, welcome aboard. I always like to look at liquidation levels first. Give us some perspective on where the price might go next here. Again, from a macro perspective here, we can see again at 540 roughly to 575, that range up there, just above the local all-time high, is essentially a pretty big deal, right? We're not there yet, but just know if we start traveling to that mid $5 range, there's a solid chance we're going to see that happen, or mid to low $5 range. So take a look here locally. This last 7 days of liquidation, most people shorting at 490 to 498 just got hammered. So I'm happy to see that because you don't short this coin first of all, and second of all, if you're shorting the top, like that's just a dumb thing to do. There's a lot of reasons why the price action is more likely to go higher than lower. Okay, and again, it's easy to say now that we're there, but in hindsight, shorting this coin is inherently more risky. And on top of that, the overall trend for Bitcoin has been up the last 2 days, right? And if you've seen any of my videos, you'll know that with Bitcoin being bullish, the majority of altcoins are going to do well. Even though SUI has been pulling back more than the average coin, it's more likely to go volatile and violently to the upside than it ever is to go to the downside, right? It does dump sometimes, but for the most part, it's got to be a catalyst. But Bitcoin has to be having a really bad day for SUI to dump. The inverse applies here, though. If Bitcoin's even having a neutral day, which we're mostly bullish on Bitcoin right now, SUI has a tendency of taking off. So again, this is just like a ticking time bomb. Just make sure that you're aware of that when you trade this coin. Okay, so locally we see $5 to about 510. I mean, it's consistently all the way up there. So there's chunks of liquidation all the way up. So I wouldn't be surprised if SUI just continues to run after we get back up above $5. Once again, $5 is just kind of like a psychological resistance. It doesn't really carry too much weight, but it does also in a general sense, because a lot of times, like 100,000 for Bitcoin, for example, it'll hang out and just kind of chill there for a while, just based on the simple fact that people think it's a really big deal. 6 figures. It's I mean it is, but every round number, 70, 80, 90,000, they're all treated the same. Okay, so SUI at 5. Probably going to be a potential resistance range. That's just my guess. We'll look at the charts here in a minute to verify, but from liquidation delta, more people are taking longs than shorts here. We've seen this dynamic basically be the case for the last 48 to 72 hours. So you don't want to short a coin that is showing more strength to the upside. You only take longs in the same direction. Okay. Now, if you're one of those social media persons that just loves posting high risk trades, you're probably just a buffoon, and you probably just need to get a life. And again, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, which I know it sounds kind of sideways when I say that. But the truth is, it's not what you do that defines you; it's why you do what you do that's the most important, right? So if that validates you, then continue doing it. But the truth is, you're not going to get a whole heck of a lot of substantiality in your portfolio if you keep taking high risk trades and you keep resetting your account. That sucks and it hurts. I've done it before. Trust me. In the last 20 years, I've realized a few things. That's why I love teaching best practice and making sure people know how to trade effectively instead of the other way around. Okay. Unfortunately, from what I hear, and I don't watch anybody else, but there's a lot of trash out there, and unfortunately, a lot of bad traders that are promoting, and they get way more views than I do. And again, it's because they tell you what you want to hear, right? I'm just going to look at this abstractly and tell you how it is. And the truth is, from open interest perspective, there's way too many, this isn't bad at all, by the way, but there's a lot more positions being taken at the 450 to 460 range There's not a whole heck of a lot of heavy concentrations in the upper $4 range, basically implying that we've got a pretty solid base between 450 and 465. Okay, so open interest is good, just kind of gives us that hypothetical support. Now I'm going to remove this resistance range because even though it's still very much a valid thing, I don't want to have that overlaying on the charts. I'll update that later. And keep in mind too, folks, I always post playout charts on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. It's available on here at any given time, so feel free to join up over there if you want to kind of be abreast on all the new analysis. Okay, so let's take a look here at the daily time frame. First of all, SMAs, I've talked about this previously, being above the 50s is huge, right? We've maintained above that. We haven't broken bearish at all. We're also over 50 on the RSI, equally as important. So this coin is still exuding a lot of good strength. That's why we don't ever even consider shorting this coin until we get below that level, right? Again, the macro perspective for this coin is still up, and you got to kind of treat that with respect and make sure you trade in that same direction. Same thing happens here as well with the money flow index. It's looking pretty solid. We're over the 20-day SMA for the moment. Again, today's candle hasn't closed yet, but a solid closure over 470. I talked about that in my community yesterday. If you're not familiar, we do have an altcoin chat section here, and I highlighted the fact that SUI is in a pretty good place. If we close above 475, that is essentially what we're looking for. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. And again, I'm always going to recommend you wait on longs until we have confirmation, because had you just taken that breakout trade, sure, you'd be in the green, but it would have been a higher risk trade leading into that resistance range, right? Again, that's just kind of there for you. Quick kudos and congrats to our community. We just secured profits a couple minutes ago on SEI, almost basically 19% in 20 hours, Dogecoin 33%, and of course, Bitcoin 31%. It's been a nice profit the last 24 hours. Those are low leverage trades, folks. I only take 5x leverage trades for altcoins and 10x leverage for Bitcoin. Keep in mind my portfolio size is larger than the average person, so I feel like low leverage is extremely important to offset the position size. So please remember that if you're trading with larger positions, lower leverage gives you more sustainability. I've never, well, I wouldn't say never, but it's been quite a few years since we've been liquidated as a community, okay? And again, it's just kind of the growing pains, right? You learn and you move on. But we don't learn hard lessons anymore in our community, and it's a good sign. Coming up on a 4-year anniversary too, by the way, in April for Crypto Cash. It's pretty cool. It's been an awesome time. Thanks again for being amazing part of that journey here. I look forward to the next 4, 10, 20 years, whatever the case. All right, so 4-hour time frame. Let's quickly recognize that we're above all moving averages. Super awesome. We're over 50 on the RSI. Extra important. We're not overextended either. We're not quite at that 50 level. So you got to recognize with us not being quite there yet, there's more potential for further upside. So I really think that SUI, we close it, just say, we want to close above the local high, okay? More specifically 475, that's that red line on the chart here. I think we get a closure above 475 today. There's extremely good potential for further upside. And why do I say that? Because we have a ton of confluence in that range. Look at this here. We've got the 20, sorry, that's the 50-day SMA, the 100-day SMA, the 20, and the 200. So we're talking 455 to 475, massive amount of support. We got a strong amount of control here as well with volume. And we also saw previously with open interest that people are really heavy between 450 and 460. So that reinforces that super strong support. We may not see that level, but that'd be an awesome place to consider taking either along or adding to your position, okay? All right, last but not least, let's quickly double check this here as well in the hourly. And this is where we finally have some confirming factors. We can see the lagging span is free and clear, conversion lines over the baseline. Well, barely. They're kind of intersecting in a way, so that really doesn't imply that we don't have great momentum here. And then, of course, the lagging span is free and clear. But more important, we're over the Ichimoku cloud. And what do you know? It's kind of hanging out right there in that 470 to 475 range. So once more, a lot of confluence here in this 450 to 475 range, giving us confirmation if the price were to pull back. That'd be a solid pivot point and a place in which we should expect the price to bounce or respond well. Okay, so SUI is looking fairly strong here, folks. Big surprise. I don't know. I've lost count as to how many times I've said that in the past. But this coin is not one you want to bet against. Okay, simple as that. And I'm not a fanboy or moonboy or whatever you want to call it. I look at every coin the same. Okay, and it's really just a good chart or a bad chart. And the chart here is pretty good, and it's usually reflected of its community because there's a lot of folks that are buying these dips, and it's really nice to be able to see this coin looking like it's back on track. So with this slight exception that we have a bearish type of pattern here that isn't fully invalidated yet, everything else is looking great. Okay, so I like what I see here. I'd be looking for entry in the 475 to 485 range. for a long to this upper level. Typically my longs, if I just say got in at 475, I'd be looking at like 4 to 6% moves. So I'd want to secure profits somewhere in the sub $5 range, right here in this golden pocket. Okay, now we're right there at this point. So obviously, if you take a long right now, you don't want to secure profits in 2 cents. But the whole point is that this is a potential resistance range for us, with it being kind of just that natural resistance range, but also a solid amount of resistance there too, based on solid round numbers being what, $5 is that key level resistance, right? So it's up to you if you want to wait or average into your position. Everyone has different strategies, but I may consider getting some skin in the game here shortly, and then adding to my position at the 475 mark, and worst case tertiary target at like 460, because we have a ton of support in that range. So anyways, really good stuff here. I've talked enough. Thank you again so much for joining me here. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Join us over at Bitunix too if you haven't already, folks. Link down below. If you ever use my link to register, every single month you'll have benefits. Next month's a deposit bonus, this month's Rolex and all that stuff. So it's cool stuff. Check it out. Link down below. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again so much for your time. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.